You walk around this building, and everyone is so supportive and so excited about what is happening with the Fever.
The final horn echoed through the arena, a sound that felt less like an ending and more like a detonation. The Indiana Fever, a team that had become a national symbol for struggle and rookie growing pains, had just systematically dismantled the powerhouse New York Liberty, a team loaded with superstars and championship aspirations. At the epicenter of this earth-shattering upset was Caitlin Clark, the rookie phenom who the entire world believed was cracking under the immense, suffocating pressure. Instead, she stood on the court victorious, the undisputed architect of an impossible win that sent a shockwave through the entire sports landscape. Indiana's general manager watched from the sidelines, a look of pure, unadulterated shock etched across their face. But this wasn't just about the numbers on the scoreboard. It was the sudden, terrifying realization that everything they thought they knew had just been turned upside down. The narrative that was being gleefully written by critics about Clark's professional demise had just been violently torn to shreds and set on fire. What was really happening behind the scenes, in the locker rooms and in the league offices, was far more explosive than any fan could have possibly imagined. This wasn't just a comeback. It was a cold, calculated declaration of war, and the first shot had just been fired. The game itself was nothing short of a masterclass in defiance and raw talent. Against the star-studded Liberty, a team built like a juggernaut to conquer the league, Clark didn't just play well. She played with a chilling, focused vengeance. We're talking about a stat line that didn't just break rookie records, it annihilated them, leaving seasoned commentators scrambling for new superlatives to describe what they were witnessing. She dropped three-pointers from ranges that defy the very geometry of a basketball court, shots so audacious they bordered on disrespectful. She fired no-look passes that seemed to bend time and space, threading needles through a defense packed with all-stars. She controlled the tempo of the game with the calm authority of a 10-year veteran, not a rookie who had been brutalized for weeks. This wasn't the hesitant, physically battered player the league had seen in previous games. This was the Iowa superstar, fully unleashed and completely unapologetic. Every single dribble, every crossover, every clutch shot was a direct, unfiltered message. It was a message to her critics who called her overrated. A message to the opponents who tried to bully her into submission. And perhaps, most importantly, a message to some within her own organization who may have doubted her. The win wasn't a fluke or a lucky break. It was a meticulously crafted statement, proving once and for all that she wasn't just a ticket seller or a media sensation. She was a franchise-altering force of nature, and the rest of the WNBA had just been put on final notice. But to truly comprehend the seismic shock of this victory, you have to rewind just a few weeks to a locker room filled with toxic whispers and a palpable unspoken tension. The Fever's disastrous 1-8 start to the season wasn't just about losing games. It was about a visible and painfully awkward lack of chemistry on the floor that anyone with a television could see. Rumors began to swirl like a thick fog, fueled by bizarre post-game press conferences where the support for Clark felt scripted and forced, if it was even there at all. Social media lit up with clips, analyzed frame by frame, of plays where she was wide open for a shot, calling for the ball, and was inexplicably ignored by her own teammates. The narrative quickly and decisively formed. Was there a Cold War, a silent mutiny, brewing inside the Fever locker room? Was there deep-seated resentment over a rookie who, through no fault of her own, was getting all the media attention, all the multi-million-dollar endorsements, and all the credit before she'd even earned her stripes in the pros. Body language experts had a field day, pointing to eye rolls and slumped shoulders. It was a toxic, high-pressure situation, one that seemed to be eroding the team from the inside out. The pressure on Clark was therefore immense, not just to perform and win games, but to navigate a treacherous social minefield with cameras documenting her every move, waiting for a single crack in her composure. The on-court struggles were merely a symptom of a much deeper, more troubling issue. And for a while, it looked like Clark was completely alone, fighting a desperate battle on two fronts. And what was about to happen next would only throw more fuel on this raging fire. While the internal team dynamics were frosty and complicated, the external environment she faced was openly and brutally hostile. It became terrifyingly clear that the rest of the WNBA was not rolling out the red carpet for its new cash cow. In fact, they seemed to have a singular, unified goal: break Caitlin Clark, physically and mentally. The welcome she received was a relentless barrage of overly aggressive, cheap, and borderline dirty plays that went far beyond typical rookie hazing. The league's veterans, seemingly threatened by her instant popularity, wanted to test her to see if the college phenom could handle the raw, punishing physicality of the pros. This violent campaign culminated in one of the most talked about and controversial moments of the season: the infamous blindside hip check from Chicago Sky's Chennedy Carter. It was a shocking, non-basketball play, a blatant cheap shot delivered away from the ball that sent Clark tumbling hard to the floor. The footage was chilling and immediately sparked a national firestorm. This wasn't just a hard foul in the heat of the moment, it felt deeply personal, premeditated. It was a message, sent loud and clear from a faction of the league, that her hype and her fame were not welcome here. She was now officially a marked woman, and every single time she stepped onto the court, she had a massive, unmissable target on her back. The physical toll was one thing, but the psychological game of knowing you were being hunted by your own peers was a completely different and far more sinister challenge. The Carter incident acted as a lit match on 1,000 gallons of gasoline. What was once a niche discussion among hardcore basketball fans exploded into a raging mainstream media inferno. Suddenly, absolutely everyone had a strong opinion. Major talk shows, sports analysts who had never dedicated a segment to the WNBA before, and even casual observers were passionately debating the same questions. Was this just typical welcome to the league, rookie treatment? Or was it something more, something uglier? Was Clark being unfairly and dangerously targeted because of the unprecedented global attention she brought? The conversation spiraled out of control, touching on sensitive issues of jealousy, race, respect, and the very culture of the WNBA. Prominent figures like Pat McAfee and Stephen A. Smith were passionately arguing on national television that the league was committing malpractice by failing to protect its biggest asset, its golden goose. Meanwhile, some former players and league traditionalists insisted this was just how the game was played, dismissing the concerns as hype. The WNBA found itself trapped in a public relations nightmare of its own making. The very player who was single-handedly elevating their brand to historic new heights was now at the center of a brutal controversy that portrayed the league as bitter, unprofessional, and unwelcoming. The fan backlash was immense and immediate. Viewers who had tuned into the WNBA for the very first time specifically to watch Clark were left disgusted and horrified by what they saw, and they made their voices heard by the thousands online, flooding the league's official pages with angry comments. It was a populist uprising the league simply could not control, a powerful testament to the cultural influence Clark wielded without ever having to say a single word. Just when it seemed the storm of controversy couldn't possibly get any bigger or more intense, a bombshell dropped that sent nuclear-level shockwaves through the entire sports world. Team USA officially announced its roster for the upcoming Paris Olympics, and Caitlin Clark's name was nowhere to be found. The official explanation from the selection committee was a vague, jargon-filled statement about a desire for veteran leadership and established team chemistry, but absolutely nobody was buying it. The decision was immediately and universally labeled a catastrophic, self-sabotaging blunder. How could the most popular, most watched basketball player on the entire planet, a person driving historic levels of interest and revenue into women's sports, be left off the world's biggest stage? The move reeked of petty politics and jealous gatekeeping. Wild conspiracy theories ignited online, suggesting the veteran players on the team had colluded to keep Clark off the roster because they didn't want her massive star power to overshadow them in Paris. It was seen as the ultimate slap in the face, a punitive measure from the sports establishment designed to put the rookie sensation back in her place. This wasn't just a roster decision. It was perceived by millions as a profound and calculated betrayal. After enduring the physical onslaught on the court and the relentless media scrutiny off of it, being snubbed by her own country's team was the ultimate insult. It was a move so baffling and tone-deaf that it further galvanized her millions of supporters and cemented her image as the ultimate outsider, a lone wolf fighting against a corrupt system that seemed determined to hold her down at any cost. This brings us back to the Indiana Fever's front office and that unforgettable look of pure, unadulterated shock on the general manager's face. That expression wasn't just about the joy of winning a single important game. It was the emotional culmination of a massive, franchise-altering, high-stakes gamble that was finally, against all conceivable odds, paying off in the most spectacular fashion imaginable. Drafting Caitlin Clark with the #1 pick was never just about getting the best player available in the draft. It was about betting the entire future, the very existence of the franchise, on a once-in-a-generation cultural phenomenon. The GM knew the immense risks involved. They knew she would face unimaginable jealousy, that the media pressure would be suffocating, and that the league's old guard would viciously resist her meteoric rise. They rolled the dice anyway, hoping her transcendent talent would be enough to overcome the inevitable chaos. For weeks, it looked like that monumental gamble might backfire in the most public and humiliating way possible. The team was losing, the locker room seemed hopelessly fractured, and their prized star player was being physically and psychologically assaulted on a nightly basis. The Olympic snub was just another brutal gut punch that made them question everything. But then, the win against the Liberty happened. It was the ultimate, definitive validation of their entire strategy. Clark didn't just survive the storm. She had absorbed its energy and turned it into fuel for her fire. The GM's shock was the profound relief and overwhelming awe of seeing their high-risk, high-reward plan actually work. They hadn't just drafted a player, they had harnessed a revolution, and that revolution was finally, powerfully fighting back. And if there was ever any lingering doubt about the sheer scale of this revolution, you only need to look at the cold, hard numbers. The data behind the Caitlin Clark effect is nothing short of mind-boggling, representing a seismic shift in the American sports landscape. We're talking about Indiana Fever games, both home and away, suddenly becoming the hottest ticket in town, selling out massive NBA arenas across the country. Teams that were accustomed to playing in front of a few thousand fans were now hosting record-breaking, sold-out crowds of nearly 20,000 people, all chanting her name. The television ratings were even more staggering. WNBA broadcasts featuring Clark were not just breaking records, they were obliterating them, pulling in viewership numbers that rivaled, and in some cases surpassed, major men's sporting events on networks like ESPN and ABC. Her number 22 jersey became the highest-selling jersey for any athlete in any sport in the world upon its release, outselling legends like Tom Brady and LeBron James. This wasn't just incremental growth. It was a complete and total paradigm shift. She was single-handedly making the league more money and bringing more eyes to the sport than anyone in its entire history. This is precisely why everything she does is magnified 1,000 times over. She isn't just a rookie. She's a billion-dollar asset, a one-woman economic stimulus package, and her success or failure has real, tangible consequences for the future of the entire WNBA. The pressure is astronomical because she's not just playing for a team, she's carrying an entire league on her young shoulders. So when you look back at that incredible, narrative-shattering victory over the New York Liberty, it becomes crystal clear that it was so much more than just a win. It was the fiery culmination of weeks of relentless pressure, ugly internal strife, and vicious external hostility. She was targeted by her opponents, seemingly alienated by some of her own teammates, and then publicly rejected and humiliated by the national team. Most athletes, most human beings, would have crumbled under that weight. Instead, Caitlin Clark absorbed every hit, every whisper, every insult, and every last doubt. And she channeled all of that negative energy into a transcendent performance that silenced an entire league. That game was her definitive rebuttal. It was the precise moment she stopped being the league's designated punching bag and became its single biggest and most dangerous problem. The question now is no longer if she can survive in the WNBA, but who in the world can possibly stop her? This victory wasn't the end of her story. It was the explosive beginning of a brand new chapter, leaving everyone to wonder what comes next in this escalating war for the very soul of professional basketball.